please explain to me what is going on with Lacey Von Erich.
Well, there's something you don't hear on a wrestling podcast too often.
No, yeah, I hadn't, and I don't know this young lady. She was in TNA after I was gone. I believe I have said hello at a wrestling fan fest a few years back, but I don't know this young lady and didn't know that she was doing anything with wrestling. But you, Brian Last, got such a tickle and a chuckle out of some of the stuff that has been on. Was it on her Twitter, or she's got a video stream, a blog, a show that she does, whatever? She put it out on the internet, video of herself at WrestleCon. And not like appearing at WrestleCon, but going around WrestleCon and talking to all the other people at WrestleCon. And you sent me the link to these videos, and that's why I asked the question, and I will reiterate it. What the fuck's going on with Lacey Von Erich?
I have no idea. I have no idea. It was the first thing I had really heard about her. A friend of mine had mentioned recently a promotion in Texas, and I had Googled it, and I saw that she was involved with it. And that was the first I had heard of her in years. And I said, that makes some sense. Dallas, Texas, Von Erich. You get a Von Erich somehow. There you go. Makes some sense. But then I saw these clips of her. I don't know if she was day drinking or just enjoying life, but going and walking around WrestleCon and just interacting with various wrestlers. And
we're not making accusations just out of our ass, because in every video she had a beer can in her hand. So it's not like we're casting aspersions on whether the question of whether or not she was drinking. The question is whether or not that she's lost her rabbit ass mind. Because for one thing, she didn't know she went up to Kevin Nash, and Nash is wearing an NWO shirt. And she said, "Oh, do you wrestle for them?" And he looked up at her like, and Nash, under the best of circumstances at a fan event, is probably not going to be just a barrel of laughs, but he looked at her like she had turds hanging out of her mouth. So I don't wrestle at all. She thought that NWO was MLW because she said, "Well, I think my cousins wrestle for them." Then she goes up to Ricky Steamboat, who's in front of a poster saying Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. She doesn't know who Ricky Steamboat is. Oh, the Dragon. And she asked him if that was like a Cleveland steamer. And of course, Ricky is just the nicest guy and just the kindest, most reserved, professional. I mean, whatever, but just he says, "No, I don't." Oh, that's when you take a dump on somebody's chest. He stares at her like she's taking a dump on his chest just now. And then what? Oh, God damn it. What else? She said something else she said, "Do you have any good Von Erich stories?" Well, Ricky Steamboat, I don't know when he would have ever worked with one of the Von Erichs or on a same show with one of the Von Erichs. He never worked Dallas. They didn't go to Carolinas.
91 WWF, he would have worked with Kerry.
He would have worked with Kerry. Well, here's his daughter, and she wasn't even identifying herself. I don't know if a lot of the guys even knew who she was, but so he's like thinking for a minute, Von Erich story, and she's like, oh goddamn, how did she work into it? Where she said, "Oh, you didn't work with him. Maybe were you just in Japan? Did you just wrestle in Japan, Ricky Steamboat?" He's like, "No." That's the problem. She does not know who any of these people are. She didn't grow up around the business. She was like 2 when Kerry died, and the mother was not around the business, and she's obviously not, I hate to say this, a particularly intelligent person to begin with, or elsewise you would have been able to tell on the videos. But was she, because her running joke What do you have one of those things? One of the videos that she put out on her Lacey TV or whatever? It was all over Twitter.
I have one here right now.
Does this have her running joke on it with the punchline that she did like
does.
half of the videos with?
The video on Twitter, the person's name was I Am Hollywood. They went through apparently this entire Lacey Von Erich web stream and just clipped the important moments. This one is labeled Lacey meeting a random WWE employee. Just, I hate to play spoiler here, but to reveal it, this is Lacey just randomly going up to Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Here's this.
Where's my rookie? Oh, she went laid down. Huh? Hi.
Hey.
He has a WWE shirt on. My family helped you with that company. What do you think about that?
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, but then they all died. So great job, WWE.
And there it is. And DiBiase looks at her like, what the hell did she just say? I don't know if Ted even knows who she is.
No, because... But I don't know. Maybe she's not close with Kevin or his side of the family or whatever, but I was surprised when she got in wrestling because I would have thought that somebody in the family would have said, especially no, because you're a woman on top of everything, and I'm sure the way she looks, a number of the guys have probably taken advantage of her lack of, what's the word I'm searching for? Common sense, if nothing else. But I can't believe that somebody hasn't said, maybe you should not be around doing this. And
well, here's one. Let me play you this one real quick. It's only 11 seconds. Apparently, she went up to Jake the Snake Roberts. Here's this.
Jake, you're on Lacey VTV Live.
Wow.
This is Jake Roberts. I have so much memories with you. Remember at Motel 6? I think your snake got out. Jake!
That wouldn't be the first time Jake's snake got out of the Motel 6. So she knew who Jake was. Most people, it'd be the other way around. They'd know who everybody else was, wouldn't want to admit they knew who Jake was. And I don't know. Apparently, WrestleCon didn't draw too. Oh, she went up because a lot of the videos were about joking about how nobody was there. Imagine that. It's a fucking pandemic. But she went up to Selena De La Renta and didn't know who she was. And apparently, they've actually worked together. Which Selena reminded her of. And I wish, and the thing is, when she's shooting all these videos, she keeps the camera on her. I wish she'd have put the camera on Selena De La Renta a little bit more in that clip. But, and a lot of people then might say, well, Cornette, you didn't mind when Marshall and Ross Von Erich got in the business. And, here's the difference in those guys. And I watched the other night, the last of the Von Erichs again, the Dark Side episode. Marshall and Ross, I worked with at MLW a couple years ago, and I had met them a couple times before, a show in Oklahoma a few years ago. And you can't find two nicer, just better guys, no bad habits, respectful. They're great athletes. That's genetic. It runs in the family. And I think the difference is in them and their dad's, generation of the family, they didn't have the pressure. They didn't have to grow up on television in Dallas, Texas as rock stars. They weren't put in a position where in their early 20s in a fucking booming city that they were TV stars and Texas heroes, and people would give them everything and do everything and whatever the case. And the generation after, they just were raised by their dad as more just private citizens. And they obviously wanted to follow in his footsteps. But I think one of the things that may have saved them from developing any bad habits from wrestling or whatever is the fact they were not only a little bit older when they got involved, they're older now. I'm not saying they're ancient, but they're, I think, early 30s or 30-ish now, depending on which one's the oldest one. They're more mature. They have been grew up more out of the spotlight. And then the one thing that has been a problem that has held them back in wrestling is that they've lived in Hawaii, which, great, it's paradise, and doesn't everybody wish we could? But that's kept them from getting experience because there's no wrestling in Hawaii. They can train with their dad, but you can't do it in front of people. They've had tours, and with the modern business, there's no territory, so they get booked for shots. So from the time they started wrestling till now, years-wise, they've got experience, but they haven't had as much repetition as even the modern independents that work in all these mud shows every weekend. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they're wonderful kids and don't have any personal problems, because they haven't been around these fucking mud show knuckleheads on a regular basis. But the point is, like I said, the only drawback to Marshall and Ross is just they have not had the opportunity to get experience work as regularly, but they're wonderful kids. And, I have to think that maybe comes from having Kevin in their life and, and learning from example, rather than this poor girl grew up just knowing that her father, she was told, was a famous wrestler and has no idea of this world whatsoever. And it shows. And maybe she ought find a hobby, collect stamps. What do you think?
Or keep doing these videos.
Or because see now, you're a heartless, cruel person that wants your entertainment at the expense of other people.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Cleveland Steamer.
Steamboat.
Goddamn,
Steamboat says, "What's that?"
That's it. Like, yeah, he's like, because, I mean, a good portion of the boys probably would have known, but not Ricky Steamboat. And then she's joking about her dead family, and you could see almost his butthole quivering, sitting in the chair at this line of questioning.